Warning. The story you are about to read and or listen to has a series of potentially triggering and controversial topics, as well as events taking place. I will list them now. Child abuse, substance abuse, implied sexual abuse, bullying, self-harm, suicidal thoughts and tendencies, and potentially more as the story progresses. If you may feel uncomfortable by these things, no one will judge you if you click off of this video. If you accept the risk and want to experience the story for what it is, then I invite you to enjoy this chapter of whitemailing. Thank you. Final disclaimer. I do not make light of these topics, nor do I find them to be tools for shock value. I do consider them very real events that happen daily. Therefore, they should not be barred from being in a story to give it a more real feeling. I do not hope to make light of these things, only to draw attention to them. Please enjoy the show.
June packed her bag once the final bell rang, ready to leave after the second day of school. She wasn't tired, but she was still dazed because of what happened the day before. The image burned into her mind. It replayed several times. She had already decided that it was real, that she hadn't simply been dreaming. She kept repeating the words he said to her. She almost regretted the way that she treated him in the past. Sure, he was a pain, but at times she treated him subhuman. But then she remembered all the things he actually did in the past. He pulled her hair constantly after sitting behind her all those years, which is why she kept her hair short. He even unbuttoned her skirt as she passed in the hall, having it fall around her ankles, which made her bright red in the face. She had every right to hate him, right? "Hey, June," Noelle said, approaching her. "I gotta run to the store real fast. Would you come with me?" June sighed, smiling. "You bringing me to regulate your purchases?" Noelle laughed coyly. "Well, what can I say? I have a loose wallet. Are you in or not?" "Okay," June chimed. She picked up her bag and walked out the door. "Going for anything in specific?" "Yeah, I need a new laptop charger. Mine crapped out on me last night after Cisco came running into my bedroom and ripped it off the damn wall. Dumb dog." June and Noelle exited the front gate, a scene familiar to yesterday. Yesterday. She couldn't stop thinking about it. What was that all about? A ridiculous series of events to unfold simply to return a folder to her. She hadn't told anyone, not even Noelle, about what happened. She didn't know how to. June thought about what Kyler did that day. He came in, laid his head down, and slept. Every time his name was called, he grumbled, looked up sleepily, and put his head back down. A rough night, seemed like. "I saw you talking to some guy by your locker earlier," Noelle nudged shyly. "He seemed pretty into you, huh?" June was so caught up in thought that she was surprised by the comment. "Huh? Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know." Noelle smiled, confused. "June, you're not usually such a scatterbrain. Is everything okay?" June nodded overdramatically. "Of course. Why wouldn't it be?" Noelle looked at her suspiciously. "Okay. Seriously. Spill the beans. What is it? Do you like someone else?" June blushed defensively. "Definitely not. I don't like anyone. I told you, I don't have time for love." "Yeah, well, obviously, you've never played with the guys—" "Noelle!" Noelle shrugged innocently. "Seriously, you just need to live a little. School isn't everything." "I know that," June said, flustered. "I just don't want anything to do with that right now. I'm not ready." Noelle rolled her eyes. "And when will that be exactly? You saving your first hug for marriage?" June pushed her, but because of her small size, June was the one that moved. "You're so open about that kind of thing. I'm not. Is that so bad?" The girls walked into the store together shortly after. They immediately headed to the electronics. "Excuse me, sir," Noelle said brightly, addressing the clerk. "Laptop batteries? You got anything like that?" "Of course. Right this way," he said. The girls followed him to the aisle, showed them the batteries, and left. "Thanks a lot," they said. Noelle bent over to look at the batteries. "Trying to remember which one mine is." June shrugged. "Didn't know it mattered that much." Noelle pursed her lips. "Guess not. I'll go cheap." June stood there, looking around the aisle. She glanced around at the products, chargers, batteries, memory cards, and everything in between. Then something caught her eye. Headphones. There were a wide selection of them, even some that were similar to Kyler's. She thought about how she broke his, and he helped her despite that. The guilt was getting to her, so she started to look closer, touching the boxes to look at the prices and quality. Noelle looked at her curiously. "What's up? Need some new headphones?" "Huh?" June asked, zoned out. "Oh, no, not really." Noelle eyed her. "No." June looked at her, confused. "What?" "You want to buy them for Kyler." June blushed, her plan exposed. "What? What makes you say that?" "'Cause I know you, silly. You're way too nice to do what you did without wanting to apologize. And you shouldn't. Kyler's a huge jerk. He deserved it." June wanted to agree, but after what he did the day before, she couldn't deny that she had been in the wrong. "Look, I don't expect you to understand. I just gotta do this, okay?" Noelle rolled her eyes, shaking her head with a smile. "Whatever. Go ahead." June grabbed a pair and she decided that were good, bought them, and stuck them in her bag. She walked out of the store with Noelle and parted ways. "Tomorrow," she said to herself, "tomorrow I'll give him these, and we'll never speak again." "What do you mean he's not at school today?" June shouted. Ben sighed. "Look, I don't control whether he's sick or not. You know that." June looked distraught. She went through the trouble of giving him a pair of headphones, and now he wasn't there to accept them. She felt like she owed him a debt, and now she wasn't allowed to repay it. She hated being indebted to people, hated being the one that's getting the favor without giving it. She had to pay him back for her own sanity. "I know," she said, annoyed. "I just needed to talk to him. It really can't wait." Ben shrugged. "I just wish I knew what to tell you. Sometimes he doesn't come, you know that." "Do you think he'll be here tomorrow?" Ben smiled nervously. June's face hit the desk. "Ow. Why don't you just tell me what you want to tell him?" June's face rose. "Well," she began hesitantly, "it's kind of personal. It's between him and I, really." Ben widened his eyes. "Wow, I didn't realize you two were so close. Do you like him?" June didn't bother blushing, for the idea was so out of the question it didn't elicit a physical response. "That is by far the worst joke I have ever heard." Ben leaned on his hand. "Well, give it a few days, and maybe a week at most, and you'll be able to talk to him." Noelle sat next to her. "You really don't have to do this, June. I don't see what the issue is." June turned to her, leaned back in her chair. "I just owe him. Seriously, that's it." Noelle laughed. "For what? For breaking his headphones? Come on, June." She bit her lip. "No," June thought. "Not just that. Anyway, how would you tell him anyway, Ben? Do you have his number?" Ben nodded. "Sure do. I know where he lives, too. Used to go over there all the time when we were younger." Noelle blinked. "Hey, why did you guys stop hanging out anyway?" Ben's smile faded. "Well," he said, taking a deep breath, "he was going down a path I couldn't follow. If anything, it was my fault. I chose to stop hanging out with him 'cause of me. It wasn't anything personal. Well, it was, but it was the least personal it could be." June's blue eyes perked. "Wait, if you know where he is, could you take me there?" Noelle choked. "What? No way, June. Talking is one thing, but going to his place, I cannot let you do this." "What? Why? Are you seriously that overprotective of me? I'll be fine, I promise." "Oh, come on, you can't promise that. You know he gets into fights. He hurts people. He could do the same to you." June looked away. "I doubt it," she thought to herself. "It's really important, Noelle. I told you that you won't understand." "Well, you're damn right about that," Noelle said with a sigh. "If it's that important to you, I'll come too, just in case he tries anything." June smiled. "Thanks, but if he did attack me, what could you do?" "Scream." "Scream? That's it? I'm really loud." June giggled. Fine, you can come too." She turned to Ben. "Can you take us after school?" Ben looked down, hiding his eyes. "That's not a good idea." June blinked, slightly put off. "Oh, well, how about tomorrow? Would that work?" Ben looked out of the window. I don't think you get it. It's not a good idea to go to his house. Just trust me on that. June was puzzled. Is there a problem? Ben sighed once again. It's not you, really. I don't think it's a good idea. Really, I would, but there's a reason I stopped visiting him, and it's not his fault. Well, then what is it? Can't you tell us? Ben shook his head. It's really personal. I still love Kyler. He's a good guy, despite what you've seen. I'd feel like I'd be betraying him if I told you. June laid her head on her desk, resting her chin on her wrists. That bad? Really? Ben nodded after hesitating. I'm just afraid of you seeing something you shouldn't. That caught June's attention fully. She rose her head and looked at him with a determined expression. I can take it, she said confidently. If anything, maybe what I have to talk to him about will make you feel better. I promise once I'm done, I'll leave him alone and forget about anything I see. That's just it, Ben said, looking as though he was thinking about something painful. I don't want you to see and forget. That's just the opposite of what he needs. June shrugged, shaking her head. She didn't understand. She was so confused. What was so bad about Kyler's home? Noelle sighed. Ben, she's not going to stop asking. You should just give in. Ben looked at her, obviously taken aback by the comment. He looked away again and finally nodded. Meet me after school. Don't tell him I did this. Please. June smiled gratefully. You're a sweetheart, Ben. Thank you. All right, Miss Higgins said, yawning. Everyone get to your seats. Let's take roll. Let me check my time here. Okay. June quickly packed her bag, keeping an eye on Ben. There was something wrong with him all day. He seemed sluggish, unmotivated even. There was definitely something wrong weighing on his mind, but what? What was Kyler's home that terrible? What happened there? Was he some kind of Satanist? Dark cultist? Torturer extraordinaire? Couldn't be that bad. She slung her backpack over her shoulder and walked over to Ben. Hey, I'm ready when you are. Ben continued slowly putting things into his bag, but looked over at June and offered a sad smile. Just a sec. I'll meet you outside. June nodded, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Once this is done, she thought. Once this is done, I won't owe Kyler anything, and I can remove him from my life. I won't have to think about him any more. Noelle caught up with June in the hall, ready to assist her in her foolish journey. How far away do you think he lives? We need to take a bus? June shook her head. He said he lived close, she said absent-mindedly. Noelle stopped walking, staring at June. June turned back to her. He spoke to you? June felt her neck become warm. She usually told Noelle everything. To hide something so big was almost a betrayal. Well, she started nervously. You see... When was this? Noelle said, continuing to walk. June sighed. Well, yesterday I forgot my folder. I tried to walk inside, but Kyler was there. He started walking toward me, so I ran. He just started chasing me after that. Noelle went wide-eyed. Seriously? Why didn't you tell me? Did he hurt you? June chuckled nervously. Well, that's what I've been so hung up on. He brought me my folder, even after I did what I did. Didn't want a thanks or anything. He just walked off. It was the first time he'd ever talked to me. What did he say? June recalled the immature conversation a day before. Better leave all that out, she thought. He just gave it to me, said bye, and left. Nothing real crazy. Noelle looked uncomfortable. Still, to chase you just to give you your folder? He could have mentioned it before you started running away. June shrugged. I don't know why he did. I don't know why he did it, but when he left, he mentioned it wasn't a big deal since he lived close. Noelle was at a loss for words. She couldn't think of any way to object that June would simply refute moments later. She felt worried for her friend, but couldn't say a thing. The girl stood outside the gate, not really saying a word. Noelle played on her phone, texting her friends, while June leaned back on the pillar that supported the front entrance sign, staring into the distance. June was as excited as can be to get this out of her mind. She didn't like Kyler, going as far as hating him, even though he did help her yesterday. She couldn't help the way he felt. After all, one good deed did not make the devil holy. Ben walked outside the front door and stopped in front of them, his backpack over both of his shoulders. His perfectly neat uniform didn't have a speck of dust on it, but his face showed much wear. Again, I cannot recommend we do this, but it seems like there's no stopping you. But if I do this, promise me, both of you, you will not say a word of this to anyone. Noelle scoffed, putting her phone into her bag. Jesus Christ, Ben, you act like we're going to a war zone. Ben's expression didn't change. Juniper displayed a constipated expression. I promise. She does too. Can we get going? I hate to rush you and everything, but it is important. Ben nodded and walked past them, turning right outside the gate. June was already confused. Been a while since you went to his house, huh? I suppose, he said, continuing to walk. Why do you ask? You're going the wrong way, she said with a laugh. He lives this way. No, he doesn't. Why would you think that? June was caught off guard by that. He lived to the right of the entrance? He went so far left to chase her, though. He said he lived that way. He must have had easily an hour or so walking distance from his house if he lived to the right. Why would he lie? She decided not to question it and followed Ben. Most of the journey was traveled in silence. Noelle would occasionally tell June about one of her many young sexual encounters, which June tried to appear interested in, but June was completely avoiding any sexual or romantic ties in her life until she was much older. She couldn't be bothered with the immaturity and trust issues that teenage relationships would undoubtedly have. How much longer? Noelle complained. My feet hurt. These shoes really suck. Ben chuckled. I tried to warn you not to do this. June shook her head. If the walk there is what concerned you, then this is going to go very well. No, Ben said sadly. Unfortunately, the walk there is the easy part. The walk home is what worries me. June's brow lowered, almost squinting curiously. Why? No more questions, Ben said quickly. He came off as rude, but it was obvious he didn't want to seem that way, so she wasn't offended. After a total of 58 minutes, as she checked her watch, they arrived at a very normal-looking house. The car outside wasn't too old, but not too new either. They stared at the faded navy blue house and decided it was time to settle things. June began walking to the front door, but felt a grab at her wrist. Wait, Ben said, keeping her from advancing. Follow me. June looked at him for a moment, but nodded. She and Noelle both followed as Ben went to the right side of the house, right behind some bushes. In front of them was a closed window, with the curtains covering it. Noelle furrowed her brows. What are you doing? Gonna molest us right in front of Kyler's house? What are we doing in these bushes? Stay here, Ben said with a shaky voice. Don't make a noise. Just watch. He began walking away, stopped right as he was about to turn the corner. And don't ever say I did not warn you. June suddenly felt very scared. What were they about to witness? Ben turned the corner to the front door, took a long, deep breath, and knocked. After a few long moments of his heart racing, the door opened. Kyler stood in the doorway. Kyler's bright green eyes showed utter confusion. Oh, he said finally. Hey, Ben. Hey, buddy, Ben said with as much enthusiasm as he could muster. How you been? Kyler blinked. What are you doing here? Well, Ben said, pushing up his glasses. I was passing and noticed your window was dirty. Could I give it a quick clean? Footsteps approached from behind Kyler. It was a young woman who looked a lot like him. She had a long, dark ponytail, and her eyes were a little paler green than Kyler's. Oh, hi, Ben, she said brightly, her smile perfect. Won't you come in? She turned to Kyler, and her expression turned to complete anger, almost hatred. Are you stupid to invite one of your only friends in? Sorry, he muttered softly. Yeah, come in. Ben nodded and walked into the house. June and Noelle exchanged glances. She seems real nice, Noelle remarked sarcastically. June bit her lip. Something was wrong, she thought. Something is definitely wrong. The curtains opened up and showed Ben sitting in a chair next to the window with a window cleaner. Without anyone noticing, he opened it just a crack, just enough for them to hear. He looked behind him to make sure he wasn't heard, and it seemed he wasn't. "I still can't believe you want to come over," the girl said. "I figured you'd smartened up and discovered being his friend was a complete waste of your time." June's expression hardened. Even if she was joking, that was too far, she thought. Ben smiled. "Well, I simply noticed your window was dirty and offered to clean it. Is that okay?" "Sure," she said. "Not like Kyler would do it. He doesn't do anything." "Well, no," Kyler started. "I would, but—" "Shut up!" She cut him off immediately. It wasn't light-hearted either. It was aggressive. Loud footsteps began walking through the room. "Kaylee!" the voice roared. "Where the hell are you? Dinner should have been ready by now." June felt her heart skip in fear. Who was that monstrous voice? A man came into the room with an unkempt beard and balding head. His face was red, obviously drunk, and his eyes couldn't see straight. Kaylee, his sister, looked scared. "Sorry, Dad," she stammered quickly. "I was doing my homework. I've been losing track lately." "Do I care? Do I? No, go ahead, ask me." "No, you don't care." "I said ask me!" he screamed. He raised his hand and slapped her across the face. June and Noelle were shocked. My God, she thought, did they live with this every day? How could they? Kyler's face turned to rage. Jumping in front, "Don't hit her!" he shouted. His father balled his fist and punched Kyler so hard that he fell down. He hit his own son in the face. Noelle dropped her jaw. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Shut the fuck up, you worthless pile of trash! I don't ever want to hear you speak, ever. Have I not made it clear by now? You are not welcome here." "Perfectly," Kyler muttered. "But you can't hit Kaylee. She's done nothing wrong." "Oh, piss off!" Kaylee screamed. "I don't want your help. I don't want you to talk to me, be around me, look at me. Hell, while you're at it, just stop breathing too, 'cause that pisses me off most of all." Noelle began shaking. No, she thought, no, this can't be happening. "Every time I come home," Mr. Queen started angrily, "every time you're still here. Haven't you tried to kill yourself, like 3 times now? You can't even do that right. What good are you?" "Oh, I'm so sorry," Kyler screamed sarcastically. I just can't help but be reminded that if I was gone, who the hell would you beat all the time, huh? Who? Her, right? You think Kaylee wants that?" "Oh, by all means," Kaylee shouted. "It's a mutual feeling between my father and I that we both want you gone. Run away, get hit by a car and die. I don't care what you do. You took my mother away from me. You killed her, you worthless piece of garbage. Get out of my fucking life. Stop pestering us with your pathetic existence already. How many times do we have to say it? She was my mother too, Kaylee. But she actually loved me." Kyler couldn't speak. It looked like he was about to cry. He simply rose to his feet and walked away from them towards the front door. "Gonna take my advice then?" Mr. Queen yelled, satisfied. My apologies. "Make sure it's a semi before you jump in front so we don't have to take you to the hospital. Wouldn't want you to mess up 4 times, would we?" Kyler slammed the front door behind him and walked out. Ben simply closed the window, the curtains, and walked out behind him. Noelle was in complete shock. She couldn't speak. She couldn't believe what had just happened in that home. He lived with that every night. "June," she started shaking. She turned to her. Maybe we should..." She stopped cold. June looked broken in half. Her face showed not shock, but agony, pain, remorse. Her eyes were red. Her face was soaked with tears. She didn't know what to think. All those years of scolding Kyler only to find out what waited for him at that home. He had no release. He had no safety. No one loved him. The pain in her heart only grew the more she thought about it. She was going to break down then and there. Her soul crushed from witnessing what happened to Kyler daily. Do you see? Ben said, approaching them. Tears were in his eyes as well. This is what I was afraid to show you. I've seen this happen many times and it never gets easier. It's my fault I stopped seeing him. I just couldn't take it. Noelle buried her face in her palms. I have no idea what to think right now, Ben. I really don't. June stared at her shoes. What have I done? She asked herself, choking back tears. What have I done to him? How can I have treated him like this? Stop, Ben said, putting his hand on her shoulder. No one knows about this other than me. No one could possibly know. And if I stood up for him, they would. Noelle took a deep breath. I want to go home. I just want to get away from here. Ben nodded. Come on, you two, let's go. Ben and Noelle began walking, but June didn't move. She kept watching the direction that Kyler went. Noelle looked back. June, let's go. We don't want to see anymore. You go. You go, she said instantly. I'm gonna take a much longer walk. June. Let her go, Ben said, putting his arm around her shoulder. Let me walk you home. Noelle looked at June for a moment, but turned. Yeah. Okay. Kyler leaned against the old wooden gazebo away from the public eye. There was a small abandoned park that was hidden in the trees about 10 minutes away from his home. He went there when he needed to think. There was nothing there, really. Just a small stone path, a swing set, a basketball goal with an old chain net, and a 60-year-old wooden gazebo. He stuck his hands inside his front pockets of the slate-gray hoodie he wore. He leaned out the back of the gazebo, sitting on the bench, to look up at the stars. It felt so cliché. His cure for being hurt was looking up at the night sky. It seemed cheesy, but it also felt right. What would he do this time? Would he simply wait for a while, for everything to cool down, go up to his room and hide for the night? He was tired of doing that. He was exhausted. First he goes to school every day, only to get harassed by that stupid Juniper girl every single day. Then he comes home to a much worse problem. What a pain. Sick today? He looked forward to see someone there. The lights in the park were dim, so it was hard to make out who it was, but he eventually saw. You? What are you doing here? June sat across from him inside the gazebo. You lied, you know. You don't live anywhere near me, yet you still came after me. Kyler was stuck on that. Well, he started, desperate to find an excuse. What I meant was, I needed something from a store near there. And what was that exactly? Kyler sighed. Is that your business? Hey, she said, shrugging. She was glad he couldn't see her tears in the dim lighting. Just trying to break the ice. Do you get hit in the head? He asked rudely. We're not friends, remember? Why would Little Miss Perfect Pants be friends with a delinquent like me? Relax, she said with a groan. I just wanted to talk. Kyler rose to his feet and walked out. Well, good talk. She followed him. About something specific. God, can you just stop walking away for half a second? Kyler turned back around, staring a hole through her. And what would that be? June took off her backpack and unzipped it. She pulled out the package of headphones and put it in his hands. I owed you, so here you go. We even? Kyler couldn't believe it. A gift? From her, of all people? What world was he in? He grumbled, taken aback. Yeah, I guess. We're square. That it? No, she said with a smile. That's not all. I wanted to know your address. He looked at her suspiciously. My address? Why? I'm calling child services and sending them to your home. The wind suddenly picked up, filling the silence. It wasn't a short silence either. It lasted close to a minute. None of them looked away, but June was confident, while Kyler was scared. What are you talking about? he asked with a nervous chuckle. Your father is an abusive drunk who beats you and your sister. Your sister verbally abuses you, and they both endorse your suicide and take pleasure in your pain. You need to go. What the Who the hell do you think you are? He shouted. He got in her face, but June didn't even flinch. Do you think you can come stumbling into my life and start throwing your weight around? I'm trying to help, Kyler. Did I ask for help? Oh, come on. If you got your arm cut, you just duct tape it back on. Just because you don't ask for help doesn't mean you don't need it. Look, Juniper, I don't know how the hell you know all of this, but you need to just forget it. Thanks for the headphones, but our relationship ends right there. He started to walk away, but June grabbed his hand and held it tightly. I can't let you walk away, not when things like this are happening. Kyler turned around in a fury and pushed June up against a light post. It didn't hurt, but he was forcing her to face him. You don't know me! I don't need anyone, least of all some happy-go-lucky prep girl that doesn't seem that she's ever experienced a damn scrape on her elbow before. You don't understand my life, so keep out of it. Or what? She challenged. What do you mean, or what? Do you know who I am? Do you know how many kids I've beaten down in that stupid school? What in your delusional little mind tells me I won't kick your ass too? Because you aren't your father. Kyler released her shoulders, completely off guard by that comment. He didn't know what to say, so he simply turned away. Why do you keep doing that? Why do you keep trying to help me? I am a lost cause, Juniper. You're not lost. I want to help you. What are you, my guidance counselor? I've gone through plenty of therapists, all right. I don't need another one to piss off because they can't help me. June looked at him sadly. Can I at least try? Why? Why do you care so much? I am not worth it. It makes me really sad that you actually think that. Really, it does, Kyler. You're so damaged that you don't even see how hurt you really are. This isn't normal. Normal families don't do that to their kids. And I can't tell you how sorry I am. Kyler looked at her and sighed. Is that why you're here? To pity me? And by the way, how in the hell could you help me? June's expression hardened. She stared at him with conviction, with purpose. Be my friend for 30 days. Silence filled the park as June awaited his reply. Kyler stared at her, his head shaking in confusion, his jaw agape, and his eyes squinted. Sorry, what? Be my friend for 30 days, she repeated. Be nice to people. Pay attention in class. Try to make friends. Kyler couldn't help but chuckle. Really? That's what you want? You want me to be a nice guy for a month? That's what you want? Okay, and what happens when I finish? Whatever you want, she answered instantly. I'm going to show you the way for 30 days. Every time you act out, I'll add more days you have to be around me, so you get motivated to behave. Kyler shook his head, still lightly laughing to himself. And if I refuse? I will call child services. His smile faded. He was caught in a bind. Don't, he pleaded. They'll take me away from them, and then Kayla will be the only one he'll hurt. She'll never admit he's hurting her. They'll go out of their way to hide the proof. She'll be miserable. June's expression saddened. I can't help her, Kyler. I'm sorry. But I can at least try to help you. If, at the end of 30 days, you don't want to be a good person, I will let the situation go. But you have to behave every single day. Every day you don't, I will get more days until they finally end. And trust me, I can keep this way longer than you think you can. Than you think I can. So you're blackmailing me? That's dark, class president. That might really impact your image in the election. Not blackmailing if it's positive. I'm trying to help, so it's, She thought for a moment, instantly gasped with a bright smile. Whitemailing! Kyler rolled his eyes. That's not a thing. It is now, she snapped. Kyler was unable to reply immediately. He had to think of ways he could get out of this, but he couldn't. Fine, he said, frustrated. I'll be a good boy for a month. But when this is over... I know, she interrupted. I'll piss off. Kyler nodded after a while. Good. You should go home. It really is late this time. June checked her watch. She didn't realize how long she'd been out. It was already 9 o'clock. "Lovely of you to care for me." Kyler coughed. "No, I just want you to get away from me." "Sure," she remarked slyly. "By the way, are you going to be okay tonight? If you need somewhere to go." Kyler blushed violently. "What the hell? I'm not spending a night at a freaking girl's house." "Can I tell all the boys at school you just said those exact words?" "Hey, swallow thumbtacks. How about that?" June smiled. "So glad you're my friend," she said with false sincerity, to anger him. It obviously worked. Kyler turned away. He grunted. "Anyway, I'll just sleep here." June blinked. "What? Seriously? You're gonna catch a cold." "Why do you think I'm sick all the time?" June almost started crying again. He didn't feel safe enough in his own house to sleep in his own bed. It broke her heart. She knew it wasn't her business, but at the end of the day, but it did really hurt to see another person suffer this much. He wouldn't admit it, but it was obvious he needed this. "I see," she said, looking down, trying to hide her sadness. "There's no convincing you to stay with me? At least for tonight?" Kyler groaned. You're a broken record, lady." All right, she said. "I'll go home." She started walking away, leaving Kyler on his own for the time being. "Wear proper uniform tomorrow." Kyler coughed harshly. "Seriously? I thought you were just torturing me a little, not until I cry for death." "Uniform," she repeated sternly. "It's the rules. Got it?" He waved dismissively. Yeah, whatever you say. Let's just get this over with." She smiled at him. "Bye, Kyler. See you tomorrow." "Whatever, Juniper." "It's just June," she corrected. "That's what my friends call me." He narrowed his gaze. "Whatever you say, Juniper." "That's another day. 31 now." "What? You suck, dude." 32.